Hi, my name is Laura Davenport, and today I'm going to be telling you about why and how individual impact makes a difference on climate change and what individuals need to do in order to make an impact on slowing down climate change. The reality of climate change and what it has come to is that every day the threat of climate change is more and more prevalent. The planet is dangerously close to heating to a level where the damage done cannot be fixed. It is predicted that coastal cities will experience severe flooding in the coming years due to rising ocean levels. The only way to possibly slow down the impending, irreversible damage to the planet is for individuals to change their mindset and take personal action. In the fight against climate change, individual action is a crucial component. People can make significant changes in the areas of consumption, transportation, and shopping choices. A lot of people don't think that their impact matters and their decisions matter. But what happens when a planet of 7 billion people all live their lives thinking that their choices don't matter? That adds up to 7 billion people thinking mindlessly and going through their lives mindlessly, not thinking that they can make an impact on climate change. And when that all adds up, we get to a place where we are now where climate change is out of control. In the areas of consumption, people need to understand that they need to consume less resources. People, specifically in Western culture, overconsume resources such as water and electricity, and also consume food that is damaging to the environment. People need to be more conscious of their consumption every day. The food industry is a huge contributor to this and is a huge contributor to climate change. Consuming food that is shipped overseas or flown or brought in trucks has a very large carbon footprint, specifically in the meat industry. The carbon from the cows is a very, very large contributor to climate change and rising carbon levels. So consuming food that is locally sourced in order for it to have a smaller carbon footprint is a choice that if more people were to make, their carbon footprints would be lessened, and therefore there would be less carbon emitted into the environment. Traveling and transportation is another very large component to climate change, and an area where if people were a little bit more conscious and made more personal sacrifice, there would be less of an impact on the environment. The normalization of cars and fast transportation is a very large contributor to the carbon crisis. If people were to make the choice to drive even 10 miles per hour slower in their car, it would reduce their emissions by about 30%. Or even more so, to further normalize and destigmatize the use of public transportation instead of personal vehicles, personal emissions would be lower as well. In addition to that, there are a lot of carbon neutral public transportation options that are being put out, which are a lot more affordable than for someone to buy an electric car per se. So if people were to start using those public transportation options that are much more carbon neutral than a car, that would make a very large impact on individuals' personal outputs and would help to slow down climate change. Finally, shopping, and specifically shopping mindfully. The fast fashion industry has made an immeasurable contribution to planet warming. Fast fashion and overconsumption of clothing are trends that must be broken. It is normal for people to buy a lot of clothing items for little money and only wear them once or twice. This trend is very far from what is mindful and should be normal for people and their consumption of clothing. People will buy 10 shirts for $20 and order them online, have them shipped in overseas, and not even think about the fact that that fabric was made using a large amount of water, that they were made in factories that have very large carbon emissions, and then was shipped to America overseas. All in all, those 10 shirts have just made a very large contribution to global warming. Usually, clothing of that type is made in those factories that have not only the massive emissions that I just discussed, but also unethical work environments, which supporting businesses that do not support their workers ethically is another part of just human nature and how humans need to understand to support each other and the planet. If people were to understand the difference economically between buying 10 shirts at $2 each or buying one shirt for $20 that you wear many times versus wearing one of those 10 shirts once, each of those 10 shirts once, then you are buying a higher quality item that's going to last longer, that has also contributed to being made mindfully and normalizing mindfully made clothing and ethically made clothing. In conclusion, the key to reversing climate change is individual action. People do not understand that their actions make an impact on the environment, and as an entire Earth, we need to change that mindset, because in the end, it is going to come down to individual action and individual sacrifice and changes in our daily choices. And helping people understand that is the first step that can be taken in order to slow down and hopefully heal the damage that has been done to our planet. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great evening.